Skine. That's going to be her third.
McCain doing a good job there, snaring the rebound and drawing contact.
Richfield has been absolutely impeccable in containing Simley's posts of Brown and Kine.
Katie Atkins, the 5'10 sophomore, was just checking the game for Simley.
Brown and Kine, as we mentioned, both averaging double-doubles, and both are still stuck at 4 points right now. DeLau to Brown. Brown can't get the line drive, and drawing the foul is Atkins. Well, Atkins to shoot a pair, gets about 1.9 points per game. Most of Simley's scoring comes from their starters. There aren't too many bench players that stand out, but that doesn't. Tim Pepper still speaks highly of the bench players.
I'll tell you, Simley has had kind of a tough time at the charity stripe here tonight, Mike. They haven't made good on some opportunities that they've been given. Get the back end there.
Sarah Swate's really struggling from the line. Kaylee Adams. Back over to Barnes. Ford Washington, 14-footer, swish. Boyd Lockett finds an open DeLau, but she's too strong on the baseline, Jay. January with numbers and scores.
Right through traffic. Very tall traffic, if I may add.
Well, January certainly doesn't lack speed. Remember, she is a two-time state champion hurdler, holds the state record in that category, 14.32 seconds in the 100 meters. Barnes and one.
Right over Kylie Brown.
All Richfield in the second half.
Bobby Beaver back in. Now look at Bobby Beaver as one of those X factors for this Richfield team, Mike.
As it needed to be tonight. Barnes doing well, Ford Washington. And a fast break play for Kine. And Simley will need to get their stars involved to work their way out of this deficit. They trail by 19. January.
Little
miscommunication
there.
That was one of the keys to the game.
Few times that's happened tonight for this Richfield team.
And speaking of news, we talked a little bit about around the state news. I imagine you've heard of the big recruit Minnesota got last night.
Yep, yes I did.
Carly
Wagner.
After the Minnesota-Michigan game, I wonder if that had some sway. If Minnesota had one of the more dominant performances of the season, hitting nearly 60% in an 82-67 win.
Well, that's definitely an exciting pickup for Pam Borton.
Well, Wagner was at that game. I know Pam took high interest in her. DeLau open, and she may have been deflected. January all alone, and she'll shoot free throws. The foul will be charged to Atkins, her second.
You know, the thing about January that makes her so impressive, you not only have to deal with her speed and explosiveness. Once she gets under the basket, Mike, she uses her body so well.
As we mentioned in the first half, her older sister is wrapping up her collegiate career as January will be ready to embark on hers. Pamela January playing at South Dakota will graduate, and I've been told will likely come back here just because there are so many things to do in South Dakota. January's made all of her free throws, and a little more on Wagner. I mean, that pickup, presuming everything works out, is huge for Borton because she has been questioned for the last few years about her recruiting abilities outside of Rachel Banham. Ford Washington hit for the reach-in. And so to get someone like Wagner, who is projected to be an impact player right away.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, it's not linear. You know, she could struggle. That we hope she doesn't. I hope everybody succeeds that gets signed to a college. But much like Kayla Hurt was expected to help Minnesota out, and she's starting to now that she's gotten her knee back in place. Here's another steal by Richfield. January picks it up, finds Beaver, and a traveling violation, so no fast break for Richfield.
The one thing that you're seeing here right now, Mike, from a Assembly standpoint, you've got to take better care of the basketball. You've got to pass the ball better. You've got to be precise. You've got to be crisp with your passes. They're not doing that tonight, Mike.
Kine working away around Beaver. No. January used up the dribble, finds Hammonds. January scored 26 in the first meeting against Simley, but didn't have much support. Can't get the bounce there. And that's why Simley got the 51-49 win. At the time, Richfield was ranked number 1. Boyd Lockett. Good. She does draw the foul. It's on January. That's going to be her third. She's going to stay on the floor. Mackenzie Schramm making her first appearance in the game for the Spartans, and Lindblom going back in.
A little bit of trickery there by Simley. Found Delia open there underneath the basket, and she converted. Caught Richfield sleeping a little bit.
Simley's going to need a lot more, though. They're down by 19. There's your three-point specialist, Pure. Mackenzie Schramm with her first field goal. Kine was trapped there, again having to bring the ball up, unable to find the guards, and this is where youth may be coming into play. Beaver, no. I certainly wasn't expecting a 22-point margin, but again, you shut down the post. Simley hasn't found much of an answer outside of Alexis Boyd Lockett. And another reach-in foul on Richfield. They're out of fouls to give now, but again, they have a cushion with 22 points. 9:06 left in regulation. And they were looking for Kine, but Richfield also sensed that. And here is Adams, but she's too strong, can't finish. Lockett for three. Kine with an offensive rebound, can't draw the foul. She made the right move as a post player. She didn't bring her arms down, which is something a lot of posts often do, but she may have released a little too quickly. Schramm, top of the key. Yes! And another timeout by Simley. Richfield in position to score a runaway win here, 55-30 with 8:28 left.
And Schramm, the unlikely source of doing a lot of damage here in the last few minutes, Mike.
Like we said, January at the beginning of the year stated, I do not want to score 35 points a game. And Scott Statham said, we aren't better when she gets those numbers. Because January does such a good job of making her teammates better. And most of the time, they can rip up opponents that way.
And you know, for the Simley team, you know, playing a team like Richfield that's so aggressive, there's only so much you can simulate in practice. That's part of the problem. You know, you have to play games and you have to get experience because, you know, there's only so much you can simulate in practice. So this is a good experience here, I think, going down the road for Simley.
A little more on Richfield. We talked about Lindblom. She took a trip to Washington, D.C. We mentioned her grandmother works at General Mills. They're a sponsor of the Close Up program, and so Haley Lindblom's application was accepted, so she got to tour the White House, the Saudi Arabia embassy, and also met with Senator Al Franken. And came back today. Said she's a little tired, but not many kids get to go to Washington, D.C. when they're still in high school, and so I'm sure everybody was happy to see her take part in that trip. You know, she was excited. Simley can't hit the three-pointer. That was Willard on the attempt. And then earlier this week, the varsity and JV teams teamed up with the boys team. And I'll hold that thought. They teamed up with the boys team for a Feed My Starving Children event, which is something a lot of schools take part of. Lockett. A lot of things have not gone well for Simley today, and it's just a conglomerate of everything going wrong. You know, three-pointers not falling in, Kine and Brown struggling to score. And this is not a team where you want to have everything go upside down. January with the steal. She sees an opening. Goodbye. So deceptive.
Abby Keene right in her face, too.
Well, January's not intimidated by those taller post players. And foul is called against Kaylee Adams. That's her fourth. Richfield in the penalty, but with a 27-point lead, I don't think they'll have to worry too much about the foul situation. This will send Kine to the line. As we mentioned, averaging a double-double, but for both Kine and Brown, I'm sure they'll be reviewing the game film and making a lot of adjustments here because, again, this could be a potential state tournament matchup. Both teams are in different sections, and we know
somebody being serenaded happy birthday.
Well, I think the Richfield fans are taunting using Abby's name as part of the punchline there. That's what it is. Kine splits. But again, they're in different sections, and we've seen before in teams that have more than one matchup throughout the year. We saw that with Central and South a few years ago, Hopkins, Indian Prairie a couple of years ago. Once you get to the state tournament, your regular season games no longer have any meaning.
Yeah. And you know, the other interesting aspect of it too, Mike, when you look at the sections and you look how the seasons, when they finally are determined, you look at it on paper, you think, oh, well, this is going to happen, and then suddenly there's an upset.
But this, again, may have potential state implications, too, should these two get through. Had Simley been able to pull off a win tonight, that would have given them the advantage, and there's a runner from Alexis Boyd Lockett, the only player in rhythm tonight for Simley.
Nice drive down the middle there by Alexis Boyd Lockett getting the score.
But with Richfield getting a convincing split here, unless something funky happens in the last 6-10, it's going to make the seeding decision a little tougher for the coaches when that state tournament field is selected, should these two teams get there again. Wow, and over the back foul on Richfield. The Spartans fans aren't happy about that, and Simley will shoot more free throws. The foul is on Kyla Adams. That's her fourth.
You know, you look at the Simley roster, dominated mostly by by sophomores and juniors, and you can see why the hopes are high at Simley, Mike.
And so even if they don't get through or have this kind of these miscues, again, because they are young, the only senior on the team is Alexis Boyd Lockett.
Yep.
Tim Pepper has set this team up for long-term success. And he saw the potential of these players. He was a coach on the JV boys team. It will stay with Simley before taking the girls' job. He said, especially last year with that 22-win season they had, it fed to the younger players. Now, a school that's known for wrestling, they've won the last 5 championships in Class 2A. Now you have players looking to play girls basketball. And we talked about, Kine, and we'll talk a little more about these Simley players. Alexis Boyd-Lockett, the senior, said her nickname is Koala, and she likes M&Ms. Unfortunately, those two don't go together. There's no koala-flavored M&Ms, but
A lot
you
of
never
people
know.
like M&Ms. I like M&Ms.
Like M&Ms. Well, I was sad when they took out Crispy. I was sad. That was one of the worst days of my life. So, Boyd-Lockett, as we mentioned, a quick guard and in rhythm tonight, and the other person, Kylie Brown, we want to mention her. Said she didn't start playing post until freshman year, even though she's usually the tallest person on the team she plays for. But as we mentioned, Pepper praised the way Brown can play the guard slot as well. And as we mentioned, we'll probably play 3. We'll hang out the 3 and the 4 next year.
Yeah.
And she's sharing a laugh with the officials. So you see the Simley team. I'm sure they're not going to be happy with this loss if it works out that way, but they know there's still a lot of games left. It's the last month of the season, though, so it's all going to be about fine-tuning your game. It's going to be a carrying violation. It's going to be all about fine-tuning your game to set yourself up for section play.
Been a rough night at the OK Corral here for the Simley squad, taking care of the basketball.
Taylor Moore on the dish from January. Can't get the second try. And how about January getting the offensive rebound, and she will anchor the cleanup.
Cleans it up.
24 points for January, and this really isn't all that different from the first meeting with Simley. January matching her point total, getting a little more support, but still the only player in double figures. And yet you look at the score, a completely different storyline than the first game.
Yeah.
We've got a foul on Lindblom. That's her 4th, and more free throws coming for Richfield. And examining the sections again, Richfield will have to deal with Chaska. Chaska number 5 in the Class 3A rankings, and they've had a strong year, which includes a win over, I believe it was New Richland. Well, that was a close game earlier this season. And Simley just not finding their free throws.
Chaska,
get nothing going right.
In Chaska, we saw them play at the breakdown.
Benilde St. Margaret's has been hanging around, but not quite as strong as they have been in previous years. Holy Family Catholic has also struggled. And looking at Simley, as we mentioned, St. Paul Como Park got some press. Simley and Como met earlier this season at the Simley tournament. Ford Washington missing the baseline, Jay. And number 10 with the rebound, that's Maria Paulson. January with the steal. And she's and she pads her numbers. And she matches her point total that she got in the first meeting against Simley.
That's just like practice for her.
What a phenomenal game from January. We said she doesn't like to be selfish, but we know, we've seen on her a traveling violation on Kine, that January senses when she has to be the anchor, when she has to be the forerunner.
Yep, exactly. I mean, she'll do whatever she has to do to put her team in position to win, Mike.
Who would have expected
that's just what great players and champions do. They sense those opportunities, those times when they need to step up and take control.
Who would have expected a runaway game? January on the bench. I think we've seen the last of her, but she scored 26. A phenomenal night for her, and she earns some rest tonight. Meeks Johnson called for a traveling violation. Natalie Meeks Johnson on the floor for Richfield, as is Taylor Moore, number 25. Looking more again at these section matchups with Simley, Como Park could be an obstacle. The two met earlier this season. Simley won by 8. But Como Park, they've struggled a little bit against some of the stronger teams. Highland Park, they're done. They got some early love, but with Tamara Curtis I believe it was Curtis transferring, Highland Park is just falling apart. Hill Murray could sneak back in there. They know how to get there. They've been in the state tournament many times, so they have the advantage of the experience and getting past the proverbial hump, as you mentioned frequently. But again, Simley, at least based on the strength of schedule, would appear to have the easiest road to the state tournament of these two teams. In the game for Simley also, number 25, Kylie Boyer.
I'll tell you, this Simley team, they definitely do have a lot of height, Mike.
They have a lot of height, as we mentioned, a lot of room for growth, and we don't mean that negatively. And tonight just didn't go their way, but it's a regular season game, so you can toss this outside. You can toss this in the garbage can, the proverbial garbage can, when this game is over. And Atkins will go to the line for a pair.
Nice job by Atkins getting in there, scoring on offensive rebound, getting fouled, now going to the line.
And before the broadcast wraps up, we have 2:43 left, but I want to get this out there for you Simley fans watching. We mentioned a lot of the players are multi-sport athletes, as opposed to the year-round players that you sometimes see with AAU play and whatnot, but they also take part in the PBIS program, which stands for Positive Behavior Intervention System. It's a reward-based system for elementary students, and for those that get good grades and stay focused and don't do anything silly, one of the rewards is they get to hang out with the high school kids, and Simley takes part in that program. And the Simley players will talk about the importance of working and behaving.
And that's really great because the younger kids, they really look at these players as role models, Mike, and they are.
And that's exactly what Tim Pepper said when you paraphrase what he told me in the pregame chat yesterday that I had with him. And he said for the Simley team, it reinforces the value of being role models. Kyla Adams can't hit the three-pointer. Taylor Moore wrestles for the offensive rebound. So it's a symbiotic relationship between these high school kids that you're seeing on the floor, traveling violation on DeLau, and the elementary students that work with these Simley teens. As he said, everything Simley does, those younger kids are watching.
Yep, exactly.
Well, another stat you can throw out the window. We mentioned in the open, Simley had not lost a game by more than 6 points. That's going to change in a big way tonight. But even the championship teams have had their mulligan. Well, we saw what happened to Hopkins. Suffered some injuries, and they caught Centennial on a great night for them with, I think, Paige Wojtaszek hitting a lot of threes.
That Centennial team, that's going to be a team to keep your eye on.
And then they got blown out in their next game.
Yeah, I was at that when they played at Osseo.
It's all relative, right?
Exactly.
Atkins will shoot another pair. Kennedy going through some adversity right now. They lost Kanisha Bell to a broken hand, so I'm sure they'd love to get her back before sections start. But Hopkins and Kennedy have a similar makeup in that they're deep enough where you can take an injury and still be good. Kennedy ranked number 1 in the state right now. Hopkins at number 2. And the team that everyone, I think maybe the underwhelming, or it's not underwhelming, but the underwatched team kind of is Eastview.
They're always a team that's out there lurking. Very well coached, very well disciplined. They play smart.
They're number 3, but they're under the radar. And Roseville's on a big winning streak, but they're in a big conference in the Suburban East.
And that's exactly how they like it.
So you've got a couple of sleeper teams right behind them. A lot of folks think it's going to be a Kennedy-Hopkins showdown, channeling the rivalry of the last decade, but that 4A class is looking, it got real interesting, especially after Hopkins lost, because we joked about the standard, even Tony did.
I was very impressed with that Park team that you saw in the breakdown as well. They could be a
Park
factor.
of Cottage Grove. They've come back after a rough couple of years. St. Paul Central on the rise again. I don't know if they have the talent to.
Larissa Lurkin of Park, of course, very great player.
And let's not
great block by Bobby Beaver.
let's not ignore the 3A teams here with 101 left. We talked about Richfield and Simula a lot, but when you look at the rankings, we talked about De La Salle. They got their act together. They went through the same growing pains Richfield did earlier this season, where you had your stars but no one to support the anchor, no one to support the foundation. Both teams have found that now. New Prague, their coach very experienced, among the leaders for all-time victories. Marshall, they were in the state tournament. They've been a regular presence there. Red Wing, they've got Tisha Buck.
Yeah, that Red Wing team, you talk about them. You know, they could be a very huge factor. Very good. Tisha Buck.
So there's going to be a lot of unpredictability, I think, more than last year. I mean, the favorites, I'd still agree, although Maranatha right now, number 2 compared to Montanari and Buell in Class A, and in 2A, you never know with Providence because the way of their style, you can't have a bad shooting night because they eat up about 24 hours every possession.
Yep.
But last year it was pretty clear who the favorites were, and it worked out that way. There really wasn't any close games outside of the 2A game with Sauk Center and Providence. This year,
and this year we're going to have to see how some things play out.
We may actually have some close games. We haven't had that in years. Last year, everybody, you knew who won. It was just a formality, and everybody just trying to kill Tom on Twitter. This year, you might have to actually watch the game for more than a half. And that's not to discredit what the teams did last year, just I think you're seeing a little more parity. Bench players in the game, so we want to get their names in. Simley at number 30, Anna Sheffley, number 22, Jenna Paulson.
Just committed to traveling there, the 8th grader.
Number 24, Sam Oberstar. And Saraswati back in for the Spartans of Simley. And for Richfield, you've got number 13, Olivia House. She's on the floor. And 35, Josephine Roll. We want to make sure we get the names out there for any of you watching, because every one of them has a mother, or at least a guardian. But a dominating win from Richfield all around. House with a buzzer beater for the exclamation mark. Richfield finishes with a 63-37 win. And the game changer has to be those last 30 seconds in the first half. Simley was in position to stage a comeback. Richfield scores 3 times, and that just sucked the wind out of Simley's life force.
Yeah, it really did. And again, it just came down to basics. Taking care of the basketball.